If you're struggling with self-doubt, this video is for you. Welcome back to the channel. Haven't made a video like this in quite a while, and I have to say that I'm really excited to show you the new room. Welcome to the new studio with the actual lighting setup that is actually a setup. I want to talk to you about something that has just been heavy on my chest lately. I think we all struggle with self-doubt every now and then. I think self-doubt is something that is natural. I think when you're doing something new, it's natural to feel a little skeptical about what you're doing. And I think sometimes what we can do is to look at self-doubt as something negative instead of just looking at it as something that is part of the process. By the end of this video, hopefully you will feel inspired to push past your limiting beliefs and to actually go after the thing that you want to do. The reason why this is such an important topic to me is because I feel like so many of us are letting self-doubt get in our way. Is that you? It's been me. Periodically here and there, it's like a roller coaster. And I feel that when we sort of can manipulate the way that we look at that self-doubt and the way that we handle that self-doubt, the better off we can possibly be in the long run. So if I welcome self-doubt in the room and sort of look at it like, okay, you and I obviously aren't best friends, but you can hang out in the room. You're part of the party. You're going to be here. I can't help that. And instead of just trying to avoid everything that makes us feel that self-doubt, what if you leaned into it? In my experience, I have found that every single time I've sort of leaned into that self-doubt, it's always been better than not leaning into the self-doubt, because when we don't lean into the self-doubt, let's say we let that self-doubt sort of stop us from doing what we actually want to do, we end up staying stuck. We end up staying in the same exact position that is making us feel as if we're not fulfilled. If we leaned into that self-doubt, if we pushed past the self-doubt and said, you know, I'm feeling doubtful, feeling a little doubtful, but I'm not going to let that stop me. And instead, I'm just going to push through and I'm going to fight for whatever it is that I'm believing in and then see what happens from there. When you're entering new territory, you don't know what all of the environment looks like. I want to tell you a quick story. So my actual entrepreneur journey started, I believe, in 2018 on a flight back from Chicago. I was on my first travel gig, doing a dentistry campaign for someone I had just met. Like, he reached out to me on Facebook through the messengers and was like, hey, you want to go to Chicago this weekend? In retrospect, I can't believe that I did that. But this was around a time when I had just moved to Houston. I had just picked up a part-time job as a server at a place called Houston's. It was a fine dining restaurant. Worked there for a couple months, got this DM. I did not know this guy. He happened to be a mutual friend. So I guess you could say that sort of gave a lot of trust, more of the trust factor into things. The whole time I was there, we were filming these videos, I just felt so inspired, like, wow, I could actually do this. Like, what if this was my life where I was traveling all the time and I was filming these videos for people and I could make an income like that? And I was single at the time, so traveling was more of like a sexier option, especially as a freelancer. It just sounded fun, right? Especially straight out of college, like that sounded like really fun. I remember the night before the flight back, I could not stop thinking about what if I just quit my job and just did this? Like, what if I just went after it, took that leap of faith? What if I just actually went and did the thing that is scaring me so much? Because just going on my own full time without a steady paycheck, and on top of rent and other expenses and food, of course, and also just being out of town. But there was that self-doubt in there, just a little bit, like, what if I fail? What if I quit my job and then I end up having to go back to the job and ask if I can work again after making this risky move? Because I'll tell you what happened in just a second, but what was going through my mind was that self-doubt, like, man, I really, really want to pursue this. I had been shooting photography and video for a couple years before this, but I had just graduated college, and so things were just a little iffy. I didn't know what to expect. On the flight back, something just filled me up with this adrenaline rush that said, I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna quit. And I just went after it. The thought that I had in the back of my mind is, what if I never lean into this? What if I get strapped up in this I don't know, 9 to 5 corporate lifestyle, got used to this consistent paycheck, this salary, then what would I do if at that point I wanted to go after my own entrepreneur journey? It would be a lot harder. So I figured, why not start now? It's going to be easier today as opposed to 10 years down the line when you get used to something else and then you want to make the jump. So you're young, you have time to figure out. If you are dealing with self-doubt, just lean into it. Now, looking back, whenever I decided to make the leap, I could have done a lot of things differently. I could have planned things out better. I could have had better guidance. I could have had a strategy. I could have built a system that, kind of gave me a plan, but I didn't. So I will suggest that if you're sort of in a similar position, just think about things a little bit. Instead of thinking about what it would be like to do it, think about how you would do it. Actually create the system, create that solid ground before you make a transition. I definitely would have done that differently. Most of all, I think you should be willing to bet on yourself. And I think that you should be willing to, just see what you're made of, because that's what this life is all about. It's not all about being safe. If you think of our ancestors, nobody was safe. They were all out in the wild. They were hunting. Every single day they were hunting. They woke up and the male figures would wake up and say, I need to provide for my family. It's not very comfortable to wake up, leave your village, and go out in the woods and hunt with a bow and arrow, a spear, whatever. So we weren't put on this planet to be comfortable. And the younger you are, the more you should start, because of all this time that you have to face failure, hit it straight on, and then make a difference as you go. You can pivot, you can learn from your failures because you have all this time. Don't get me wrong, I say this with a grain of salt, because even if you're in your 40s, 50s, you still have time. And it's not just 20-year-olds or people in their teenage years or 30s that are able to go after whatever it is that they want to do. This goes for anybody. Today is always better than 5 years from now, because you don't know what will come from 5 years from now. You don't know what baggage you'll have to deal with, another hurdle you'll have to overcome in order to pursue your dream, your goal, whatever it is. So now's the time, which actually brings up something that I want to talk about, which are failures. I always say failures with air quotes, because in my eyes, as long as you're willing to bet on yourself, and as long as you are willing to get back up when you get knocked down, that's what really matters. When you're doing that, that's when the failures deserve air quotes, because it's not a failure. You're supposed to hit a brick wall every now and then. And the reason for that is because the universe is trying to tell you, you need to do something differently. That was not it. And we shouldn't always take that and just think to ourselves, oh, that's it. This isn't for me. No, you should focus on continuing to show up, because that is where your most authentic self will be developed, is through hard times, through hardship. In my eyes, a failure is only a failure whenever you decide to quit. At that point, it does not deserve air quotes, because that's rock bottom, when you just decide to give up. It's not when you get knocked down. It's when you decide to not get back up. When you maintain that mindset as you face this self-doubt, this possible imposter syndrome, those sort of feelings can be numbed through action, through perseverance, through grit, through discipline. If something's not working out your way, or if something's not working out throughout this process, just ask yourself, what could you do differently? Constantly ask yourself that question. Another question you could ask yourself is, if it were easy, how would it look? If I were to easily make a difference in my approach to whatever it is that I'm doing, how would it look like? Don't get feelings involved. Don't. Okay, I take that back. It's hard not to get feelings involved, right? But don't be overwhelmed by your feelings, because feelings are temporary. I promise you that. And if you focus on discipline and perseverance, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Anything that you want to go after in life, as long as you just get your why first and ask yourself why you're doing something and why you want to pursue it first, then that's all the purpose that you need to continue persevering and getting back up. Treat it as a game. I like to think of in a video game. Let's talk about Super Mario Bros. In Super Mario, actually, is Super Mario Bros. The one where they're fighting? I can't remember. That might be Super Mario Bros. God, what is the name of it? Super Mario Bros. Super Smash Bros. Is the one with fighting. Okay, Super Mario, the one where you start on level 1, you keep running forward until you get to the flagpole. If you've played it, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, when you play that game, when you first open up the game and you grab the controller and you start playing, you get hit by the turtle. You get smashed by this little monster. You get just everything happens. And it puts you straight back to square one. And all the game is trying to tell you to do is, hey, whenever the turtle's sliding towards you, jump. Jump. Boom. Okay, now you know to jump from there on out to all the other levels. Then you start realizing that there's these little boxes with question marks on them. Huh, what does that mean? I don't know. So let me jump on it. You jump on it, nothing happens. Then you realize you jump under it and it makes some coins come out. So the point of all this is that you learn through trial and error. You really learn from your errors, right? Like you learn from the mistakes that you make, what not to do moving forward. So the moment you feel like the first error you make causes self-doubt, just tell yourself like, hey, this is part of the process. Self-doubt, like chill. Don't let this stop me from pursuing my mission. Focus on getting to the next checkpoint. That's all you should be focusing on. Just how can I get to the next checkpoint? How can I avoid the same mistakes that I just made? How can I start over on this level and make it to the next checkpoint and the next checkpoint and the next checkpoint? The last thing I want to talk about is just how to actually change your approach to things, like how to create that change that is going to allow you to make the step forward to allow you to get to that next level. Something I would have done differently along my journey whenever I was deciding to quit my part-time job and go full-time freelancer is I should have made a strategy, right? And I think you should at least create 3 different pillars that you will focus on during that transition. So for example, one could be, how will you make money? Get serious about this. Like, how will you make money if you do make this pivot? How will you make money? A better question you could ask is, how could I provide value? How can I provide value? The first thing I could have done is create an account on all these different websites, like, what is it called? The Wedding Knot? Well, that's one, I think. Another thing could be, oh, I'm going to start posting consistently about weddings. I'm going to start sharing more of my wedding work on my socials so that people know this is what I do. What is something that they're struggling with that I know the solution to? And another thing could be like, what is the necessary mindset that's going to help me during this journey? What are the things that you need to keep in mind whenever self-doubt comes creeping on the door? What are the things that you need to keep in mind whenever you stop believing in yourself? How do you get yourself out of those situations? And that's it for today, guys. There's just this topic is something that I have struggled with a lot along my journey. And if I just had a couple more questions answered before I took that leap of faith, I probably wouldn't have dealt with as much self-doubt and, debilitating thoughts that just got in my way. So do better than I did. I believe in you. I think that you can do amazing things. And the last thing that I want you to do is entertain the mindset that I'm not worthy enough of accomplishing my goals. It's not true. Don't listen to that voice. The self-doubt is going to come along the way. That's just part of the process. And it's about how we speak to that voice and how we make pivots moving forward. Don't let self-doubt get in your way, because you are so much more valuable than the places that self-doubt keeps putting you in. You got this. Go after it. Much love. And I'll see you in the next video. Oh, by the way, this is going to be a normal thing. We're going to be chilling here for a while. So expect another video just like this one. And I'm back on YouTube and I'm excited. So I'll see you in the next video. Peace.